The holiday season is all about making lots of people happy. And the way that we do that in the wine world is with the Great Red Blend. We've got the 2020 Carol Shelton Coquille Rouge Red Blend coming from the Central Coast. You guys, when there's a lot going on in the world and you just need a great glass of wine, but then you also need something to please the people who are coming over to your house, who are sharing, their gifts and sharing their dishes, and it's the holidays and there's a lot going around. This is the wine that you're going to want to have on hand. This is the wine that you're going to want to just kick back with a glass of and also be able to offer it to your friends without worrying about if it's going to please them. This is your ultimate people pleasing wine that's also going to make you really happy as well. I think this is also an important message during the holidays that I always like to encourage. The holidays are as much about you as it is about everyone else, right? A little selfishness goes a long way. So, with that, we've got a blend of several different grapes in here. We've got a little Carignan, we've got some Grenache, we've got some Petit Syrah, and we've also got a little Alicante Bouschet, which is going to give it this great red color you're about to see. You ready? All right. Oh, yes. Look at that yummy, yummy color. Beautiful. So this says that it's from the central coast of California, which it is, and the grapes are actually being sourced from a few different places. Namely, we've got 100-year-old vines providing a part of this wine, a big part of this wine coming from Contra Costa. We're also getting some fruit from Paso Robles, which I love, and then a little bit from the North Coast as well. You'll see immediately the color of this wine is super, super dark, right? I cannot see my hand underneath of this wine. So this is a wine that I think you're going to be really surprised by, because when you taste it, it's not going to feel quite as heavy as it might look in the glass. And that has a lot to do with two of those grapes, Petit Syrah and Alicante Bouschet, which are providing a lot of color. Interestingly, fun fact, you might know this already, most of your wine grapes in the world, or grapes just in general, are grapes that have clear juice, right? You squeeze them out and you're going to get clear juice. But there are a handful of grapes that are actually going to have some not clear juice. They're going to have tinted juice or red juice. And Alicante Bouschet is one of those grapes. So it's one of those grapes where you squeeze it, it's really, really pink and juicy looking already. And so you're getting a lot of the color coming from that particular grape. The other thing that I want to mention is that this is a really classic blend for California. So, as much as this is a Rhone inspired wine with the Carignan and the Grenache, this is also a very California inspired blend, because back in the day, especially pre Prohibition, we were growing a lot of these grapes and we were also shipping it post Prohibition and during Prohibition, because Alicante Bouschet, Carignan, Petit Syrah, these were all called the shipper varieties. These were varieties that could travel really long distances to be made for sacramental wine, right? So these were grapes that California grew a lot of for a long time. And so they were made into blended wines if they weren't shipped. And that sort of fell out of fashion, especially in places like Northern California, Napa Valley, and Sonoma, when Cabernet Sauvignon, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, those all started to come more into favor. But we still see a lot of great examples as an homage to that part of California's history. And this is one of those wines. And speaking of history, a very historic winemaker has made this wine for a long time. This is her label. Carol Shelton I think she's made 45 vintages already. She worked with the greats. She worked with Andrei Chalachev. She's a legend in California and a person that you should definitely know about if you don't know about her already. And so this is her wine. She's sort of like, as much as she's gotten all of these accolades, she's one of these people that really just, super humble, very modest, doesn't like a lot of fanfare. And so she keeps a fairly low profile. So if you haven't heard of her, this is a person that you should definitely pay attention to, but she won't make it easy for you. All right, let's get into tasting and smelling this wine. I mean, immediately on the nose, you should be getting like 1,000 different things, right? We could start with fruit, we could start with wood, we could start with spices, because they're all there. So as you smell this wine, you should be noticing a few things. One, there's a lot of fruit, and it definitely lives in the more black fruited camp. So you're talking about blackberries, a lot of cassis, a little bit of black currant, and then you also have a lot of these sort of blue fruited things going on as well. So you've got a little blueberry. I think you've got a little red fruit in there as well, but it definitely feels very dark and brambly, right? It feels like a lot of like macerated dark berries working together, very apropos of the holiday season. The other thing that you should also be getting is this great sort of like hickory sort of smoky thing, right? It sort of smells like campfire in the best way. It smells like, those sort of sweet roasted campfire. Maybe there's some like charred meat going on in there. And that to me is very indicative of the Carignan that's in this glass. The Grenache is giving it all that great fruitiness, Petit Syrah as well. But then you're also getting this sort of like savory element coming from the Carignan. You're also getting a great spice element, which I really love. And again, this is what I think makes red blends so great when you're serving groups, you're serving lots of different people, you're trying to entertain a lot of different palates. If you have a red blend, a lot of times what happens is they sort of move back and forth and kind of ebb and flow from guest to guest or person to person because wines are sort of what you make them out to be yourself. So if you're looking for red full bodied wine and you taste this wine, you might just lean in that direction. If you're looking for something lighter, you might lean in that direction, if that makes sense. But on the nose, I'm getting all of these things. I don't think there are any wrong guesses or wrong descriptions on this glass. Definitely in, that red, black, blue, sticking more with black fruits, definitely getting all of that great woodiness and getting all that great spiciness as you would expect in something like a Rhone inspired blend. Let's taste. Okay. It's so interesting because this wine is no doubt about it, California. And I think the first thing you have to notice about this wine is texture, right? There is such a great silkiness to this wine, meaning the tannins are super, super soft and integrated, right? You're not getting a lot of that astringency, but you're also like impossibly getting so much body and so much lift at the same time. It's a really interesting sort of positioning against all of those elements that you don't normally see. But I think what's particularly interesting is that though this is very much a California wine and you're getting all of those really rich fruits, there's also something that feels like a little bit tart on there as well to kind of balance it. So it doesn't feel and doesn't, as I mentioned, this looks like it's going to be a very heavy wine. In a lot of ways, it's a very full bodied wine, but you don't feel it super, super weighty on the palate. It sort of restrains itself, it takes a step back. And I think a lot of that has to do with not only the tannic structure of this wine, but also I think it has to do with the fact that you've got this fruit profile that's both a little bit on the tart side and very much on the ripe side. It's a really, really super fun wine. And once again, I think a food pairing wine through and through. So a wine that definitely has great acidity, it has great structure, it has great lift. And so that's going to make it wonderful, especially if you are serving this at Thanksgiving, if you're serving this at group dinners, or if you're just serving it with lots of different appetizers and hors d'oeuvres going on, for a small cocktail gathering. I think this is a wine that definitely wants a charcuterie board for sure. So if you are going out and grabbing, any of your prosciuttos, you're getting your capicolas, you're getting your salamis. These are all wonderful things to pair with this, but don't be afraid of a little bit of cheese as well. I think you can throw some hard cheeses in there. You can also get really fun with more of like nuts and other like non-traditional charcuterie things. For dinner, I'm definitely leaning into my more red proteins. So anything like steak, lamb. You could also get a little like fun and gamey with like bison or venison. Those are all really going to be great pairings for this wine as well. Have a little fun with it. I think, like I said, this wine ebbs and flows with people as much as it does with food. And that's, again, what makes this such a great holiday entertaining wine, which is the episode that we are going to be doing with this wine. So we're going to be talking about all things how to serve this wine, what glass it should go in. And by the way, the Gabrielle glass is perfect for this, but if you wanted to do something like a burgundy glass, that's sort of going to be my preferred glass if you are not using a universal one that I am. So holiday entertaining, it's around the corner. Hopefully this wine helps you out in that way, and cheers to the next one.